The new brake hoses have arrived. So here's the comparison between the two, if I can just get that back far enough. Not only does the new one have the two rubber bits here, it's also about 2 inches longer by the looks of things, about actually a bit more than that actually, probably about 100 mil longer here, quite a lot. So the new ones will go on like this with the two rubber things going through this bracket here, one there and one behind, like that sort of thing, and then the hose will come forward and then it will easily reach. Yeah, there's loads of hose there now. So that's obviously the answer. Get the right brake pipes in the first place is the answer. Now I have the new pipe fitted, I just need to put the rubber grommet things into the bracket here. Now at first I was quite worried because this still seems quite tight, but of course the bracket rotates with the wheel, so if I just pull that round you can see the bracket moves in line with the wheel, so actually this pipe shouldn't have to move at all. So we'll stick some silicone grease around the brackets just to ease it in. Oh well, they are tight. Cool. Didn't really want to have to resort to this, but okay, that's done the trick. Huh. Okay, now I've got to do the one behind. This is where I find out I should have done the back one first. This way. Okay, I'm sure that one won't be any easier. Oh, nope. Okay, it's in. Then we just have this one, and that's just this. Goodness me, that does not want to go in there. I think I need to give up with this bit. Ironically, as soon as I moved the camera away, it went in straight away. So that's all done. So this side is now almost complete. Actually, I was about to say complete. I've got one last thing to do. Or maybe not, actually. Is this the side with the brake wear? Can't even see. Oh no. Okay, yes, I'm done this side. The brake wear indicator is the other side. All I've got to do is cut the end off of it and short the 2 wires and then seal it all back up again, which is how I knock out the brake sensor. So, one side complete at last. I thought I should fit a wheel or the wheel and check there's no fouling, but as you can see the pipe is nowhere near the wheel. So I think we're all good there. The final thing I've got to do is I do have to fit. I bought some new brake bleed nipples because some of them were slightly corroded, and then the other thing obviously is I've got to bleed the brakes. But once I've done all that, we'll be good with the brakes. On this caliper I've installed the brake pipe first. Actually it wasn't too difficult. On the right hand side of the car I didn't put the brake line in into the caliper until I'd got the caliper on the car. We'll see if this is any better. All I found was you have to sort of loop it round like that and turn it, otherwise you haven't got enough sort of space under the wing to throw the cable round, and it's quite stiff, or sorry, the hose, and it's quite stiff. So I'm not sure. Filming me installing brake pads doesn't seem very exciting, but I was going to show you one trick that I discovered. So the first thing is I'm using this high temperature silicone grease stuff on the back of the calipers, obviously, back of the pads. Obviously got to be really careful not to get it on the friction surface. This is good to 1500 degrees C. It should be okay. Okay, so that's one. Now being very careful not to get grease on the friction surfaces. Well, the other thing I found was you need to make sure you've got the piston fully retracted, because there's not much space for the disc. Cool. So obviously the normal wisdom is you use copper slip, don't you, on the back of the pads, but I was told you shouldn't do that with these and you should use a high temperature silicone grease, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, now what I found is a real pain in the neck keeping the pads apart while you're installing them onto the car, while you're installing the caliper onto the car. So what I did was, with the box of brake pads came this foam rubber, and I found that if I stick that down the middle and just push it down a fair way, again being careful not to get grease on the surface, that is enough to hold them in position. And as I slide the caliper on, I simply pull the foam out of the back, and that stops me losing the location of the pads, and that made life a lot easier. Not too much to tell about the fitting of the rear calipers. They went on okay. I used the same trick with the foam to hold the brake pads apart as I pushed the pads over the disc. And something I didn't realise, I'd bought new bolts for the rear calipers, which I've used, as you can see. I didn't use new bolts on the front, which apparently you're not supposed to reuse them, but I think I mentioned before I've seen endless videos of people reusing the bolts. So I'm not going to get too fussed about that. They're not stretch torque bolts, so I'm sure they'll be okay. Torque them all up correctly. I had to twist the caliper onto the hose, although I did leave this joint here loose. Whoops, see if we can get that into focus. I did leave this joint here slightly loose, so this would twist, but you can't, the hose is so short that you can't really use the twisting of that to allow you to get the twist into the hose to screw it onto the caliper. That's what I found, and so I still had to twist the caliper onto the hose. Although it did give me a little bit of play to mess around. And then I nipped it all up, and that's it, it's complete.